But I have to tell people who are on, because we talked a bit about Facebook last week, you got to be friends with Ed Wilsey. My business partner and I talk all the time about Ed Wilsey is the most politically diverse person we've ever met on Facebook. It's true, Wilsey. You are. You're classic Idaho rancher. You're consistent in your various views of wanting to be, left alone to do the best that you can do. So, and you do. Hey Ed, can you talk a little bit about you love the farmers market. You sell at the Capital City Public Market. There's two things I want you to talk about. Is you do very well there, but there's another thing I want you to weave into all this, if you can, a little bit. You have had the experience of being a really rural rancher, and now you have the biggest market in the state at your disposal. Some of our folks who are on this call tonight live out in the boonies a little bit. They're not going to bring their food into Boise. They can't get into the Capital City Public Market or even any of the bigger markets. Can you talk a little bit about what advice you might give a producer or a rancher out, who doesn't have the access that you have to the number of people that you get at Capital City Public Market and in the other places too?
Yeah, I think there's opportunity in every little town. I helped a gal get started. Her and her husband, they're the same age as my kids. I just love them to death. They got a little bunch of pigs and a little bunch of cows, and they're doing the farmers market in Kamiah and Kuski. And maybe you don't know what Kamiah and Kuski is. It's very small. Like population of one town's 800 and one's 1,200. But they go there. They advertise their wares, and they sell their product. Are they making as much money there as I do at the Capital City Market? No, they're not. But at least they're putting they're putting their first step forward on doing that. I drive an hour and a half to get to Boise from my house. So market day,
right.
My wife and I are up very early. Do what we have to do here, which we try to minimize that on Saturdays. Drive to our cold storage locker, get all of our gear together, and we're not the first ones at the market. We've never had to push cart our stuff in. We're not late. We really try not to be late. And the farmers market, to me, my view on the farmers market is advertising. Whatever money you make there, it just kind of pays for your time to be in there. It's getting your label recognition. You know people. It's just a way to kind of get paid to advertise. But I love the Capital City Market. I have probably more fun than any little kid down there because my wife and my girls do all the work. After we get set up, my wife and girls do all the work, and I wander around and shoot the breeze, and it's carnival for me on Saturdays.
Yeah, it is for Ed, and everybody feeds him, and and if his crew is lucky, he gets back to the booth with some food for them too. Yeah. Well, Ed, I'm going to move to Matt and to Guy, and we'll get back to you because there'll be more. I know there'll be more questions from the participants, and I've got a few more to go too, but I want to make sure we stay on time. So awesome.
Right.
Matt, can you talk a bit about Matt Fuchsen, again, Fresh Food Manager for Boise Co-op, and Matt, as he alluded to, started out as the food forager for Red Feather and Bitter Creek Ale House, and specifically for a guy named Dave Crick, who's become kind of a legend in the state of Idaho as a really forward-thinking person, not just on food, but energy and all sorts of other issues as well. But Matt, you have experience, I think, that you can share with our listeners tonight as far as what some of the best practices are to get into restaurants and into retail. And I wondered if you would share some of those.
For sure. Yeah, I can talk sort of philosophically and then some specifics too. Um, from our experience, it feels like, the best way to sort of get this started is to develop, like, it's all about relationships. So you develop a relationship with a restaurant or a couple restaurants or a retailer, and you sort of make it special to where, you can get this product at this place, and there's a story behind it. So, and because this isn't a conventional relationship, you're not putting your product on a, to a distributor, and distributors bring it to you. You're walking up, you're walking up to that person. They understand. They know who it's coming from, the sort of story behind it.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more intimate, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And so,
Mm-hmm.
so the what I've discovered is that that's sort of like the backbone of this whole thing, and what makes it special is that relationship. And why that's important is because since you're not a conventional, like, you have to jump through a lot more hoops, and I guess I have to jump through more hoops. The producer has to jump through more hoops. It's not easy. So when you have an open sort of communication and a more than just a business relationship, it makes those sort of things easier. To get into like a few specifics, I think the most important thing is if you've figured out, I'm looking at a picture of pears. So if I'm going to deliver you pears, we sort of work out a handshake agreement of, this is what I'm going to be able to buy from you, and this is how much you're going to be able to give me over the course of the season. And then we just agree on certain sort of like general terms, and sort of hold each other accountable to that. So that you can do your job well, and I can do my job well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think it does.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it does. So I wondered, because we have when we polled the participants in the class, Matt, we asked, where are you selling, where are you thinking about selling, and I think some of our folks who are on tonight listening are really interested in trying to figure out how to get into retail. But for some people, that's a big, scary kind of thing, because it seems to be maybe fraught with a lot of regulations or a lot of hoops to jump through. But for you guys at the Boise Co-op, let me ask you some questions specifically about the local food movement and how the Boise Co-op interfaces with that. Part of your mission, as you mentioned earlier, is to try to kind of shepherd the local food movement along, and to increase the number of producers and the amount of local food available in the food shed. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
okay.
Broad is like, yeah, that's good.
Okay. Okay. So then, I guess for someone who's thinking about trying to get started in retail, there are obvious places that they're probably not going to get to go into, like a huge supermarket. They probably aren't going to produce enough to do that. But if a local, smaller store, how would you suggest that a producer come to you? What is it that you would want to hear from them? Or how would you like to meet them for the first time?
I do sort of feel like we work and live in a bit of a vacuum. Like, it's part of our, it's part of our mission to reach out and to support local farmers. So in our situation, you literally just have to call, and we'll have a conversation, and I'll ask you to bring your product in, and we'll try it out. And if we like it, and there's a place for it, then we move forward. The reality is, I don't know if it's really that easy in other situations. I do think that as this movement grows and people become sort of more aware of the local and the organic movement, that more restaurants and retailers are becoming open to that, and open to developing relationships. I don't want to make it seem like it's not scary, because it's a totally different world. But I guess the hope is that there's somebody in place in those businesses that are sort of willing to bridge that gap and be a good contact. That was the importance of having me
Well,
at the restaurant and at the co-op.
Right.